I am discomforted with an implication with the item 4, biosolids processing to produce only dry fuel for cement kilns, pulp mills, or waste-to-energy facilities is revised to include, now I'm quoting, of course, the whole thing, other beneficial uses that comply with CRD board policy. I wish to draw to your attention that I will be particularly uncomfortable should that intend to include the application of residues to land.
But it doesn't say application of residues
No,
to land.
I am just posting to you that should that include the application of residues to land, I will be particularly discomforted.
There will be a board discussion on October the 30th and a decision whether the policy is to be revised or not.
Board or this committee, Madam Chair?
Board. It's the Committee of the Whole.
Okay, thank you. Take notice, please.
Director Isitt.
I actually have the same concern because I'm worried that by leaving the language proposed, preparing the biosolids for beneficial use, makes no mention of that use being ecologically responsible. And I'm a little worried that, I guess regardless of what's decided at the Committee of the Whole, this bylaw or this amendment is what will bind the CRD as well as the private operator who's been imposed on the CRD by other levels of government for this biosolids center. And so I don't even know, we've seen problems with various private and P3 facilities where civic policies don't actually apply. And so I think if we want to have a very clear and legally binding obligation on the operator, I think we have to make reference to ecological responsibility. And is there a motion on the table?
No,
I'm going to move.
Wait a minute. Can I just get
Sure.
Ms. Hutchison had her hand up. So.
Yes.
Yes, there is a motion. Pardon
Yeah,
me.
I'm going to move an
amendment.
So I'm going to move an
Can you
amendment.
wait until Larissa
Sure.
responds? Thanks. And
Yes,
then
through the
vote for
chair,
your
the liquid waste management plan as it's currently written is very prescriptive with regards to markets, and I think that the intent of this amendment is to open that up a little bit and to ensure that we include a broader marketplace. Beneficial use is really mimicking the wording that is under the organic matter recycling regulation, so of course any beneficial use or end use of the biosolids will meet regulatory standards that are dictated by the province.
Okay.
May I ask you something, Director Isitt? I wanted this to come here with sort of broad intentions about this number, whatever it was, and then if there's a change of policy in one way or another, bring this back to this committee. I think there's time for that.
Sure. I'm going to move an amendment that the references to preparing the biosolids for beneficial use be amended to read preparing the biosolids for beneficial and ecologically responsible use.
I would second that.
To motivate, I think regardless of what the current CRD policy says, and this board I think has shown us a predilection, and previous boards, to move on this issue, I don't think anyone on this board would want to see this toxic sludge used in an ecologically harmful manner. There's a debate over the extent of harm and how this would be interpreted, but I think putting it right in there, that acknowledging that these aren't just benign fuel sources. This is the most toxic end product of the sewage treatment process, and I think acknowledging the potential ecological impacts within the amendment is appropriate at this time.
Yes, through the chair, just for clarification, that the organic matter recycling regulation certainly protects risks to public health and the environment, and those go into the evaluation of what those standards are. And so to put ecological protection, is that the phrase?
Beneficial and ecologically responsible.
Ecologically
use.
responsible. That's challenging, I think, for staff to understand, interpret what that would specifically mean over and above the requirements in the organic matter recycling regulation.
I really think that this whole issue about the biosolids should wait until after we've had the board meeting, and then those kinds of discussions will come up, because I think it's the board meeting where we discuss all of this will bring all of those things out, and then we can revisit this section.
Comment around that would be that, but we are opening up the biosolids. If there was no amendment proposed to the language, myself and Director Hill would not be stating this concern. So it's because an amendment's being proposed that's the previous version, in my view, was far too prescriptive. It limited the private sector from being innovative, but I think we want to ensure that innovation occurs in an ecologically responsible manner. And so I think the option would be to maybe table this amendment pending completion of that board
Well,
decision, but if it's more time sensitive,
Can we just table that section?
if there's a mechanism to table the section relating to the biosolids, I would be happy to see that.
That was kind of what I was
I would be happy to
proposing.
see the remainder of the report referred to the committee. But I don't have a level of comfort to approve the biosolids amendments in that very watered-down form.
Ms. Hutchison?
Yes, to the chair, there will be, I think, a lengthening of the process because the Technical and Community Advisory Committee will be meeting once or twice before this committee meets again. And so if that section is removed, that will have to wait until November and move the process out. And I'll just refer to Jack and Albert if there's concerns around the overall timing for the project.
Well, the intention of the...
Pull the mic really close.
Sorry. Well, the intention of the program is to proceed with the RFQ for the Resource Recovery Center in early November. In order to achieve this, we need to have some sort of an understanding as to what to put in the market. And as you can see, most of the changes to the amendment are basically to satisfy the need to open this up as much as possible for innovation from the private sector. When we just use a generic term like ecologically responsible, that's way too generic to actually, we would have to have a more definitive term because there will be continuous arguments, and there already are in this sector, as to what is ecologically responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So to insert those sort of wordings, in my opinion, would be actually creating more of a gray area. And what we want to put out in the market is something that's quite clear, quite definitive, and fully respects the CRD policy at that point in time. And I think that policy will be discussed on the 30th of October.
So if I may make a recommendation, because we still have an in-camera that's probably going to be long. We have lunch waiting for us. If you could just withdraw that amendment and instead propose one that says you accept the terms with the exception of number 4
An amendment to the amendment that we make it consistent,
Right.
prepare the biosolids for beneficial use while adhering to CRD policy.
No, but what I'm recommending is that you withdraw the original motion.
Well, I'm not, I appreciate your recommendation, Chair, but I do want to ensure, staff said that this was ensuring compliance with CRD policy. That's not actually in the wording being proposed. So I'd move that prepare the biosolids for beneficial use in a manner that is consistent with CRD policy.
Is the seconder okay with that? Okay, so I think I am too. I think we're getting at the same place. Okay. Anybody wishing to speak on that? Director Desjardins.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm clear, but I'm wondering if we're just dancing around the issue, which is not to apply it to land, and whether we just should just continue to say that's where we're going.
No, because the committee of the whole is meeting at the end of the month to discuss that. And so I don't want to preclude any of discussion when we have the whole board here. That's my objective here.
Thank you, but we already have that as a policy, Chair, at this point. And
Yes.
so I think we want to be careful of if we are passing this, to understand the concerns that are out there about placing this on land.
Director Brown.
So I think the wording actually does define what is today. The meeting on October 30th is as a result, and I wasn't at the board meeting when it was passed, but is as a result of a motion of the CRD board to direct staff to prepare a report based on the triple bottom line around biosolids. And so I would expect on October 30th, we'll see environmental, all those sorts of things brought forward, financial, but based on our own triple bottom line. Ms. Hutchison, can you just explain to us what the report is? Because I wasn't at the board meeting when it passed.
Yes. Certainly, there is a lot of influencing factors that come into considering where biosolids will be beneficially used. We do have more information coming out of the core area sewage treatment project that I think is relevant to have a discussion around markets, around financials, and also just an update on where the literature is at around environmental risk and health risk with biosolids applied to land. So the focus will be around risks and new information for land application, and we'll pull that all together in a comprehensive way, as you say, from a triple bottom line perspective.
Thank you. And I think it's really key to be at Committee of the Whole, because it's not just the core area liquid waste plan that this region deals with. So I think it is appropriate to be at a Committee of the Whole level.
Okay, so on the amendment, seeing no speakers, all those in favor? Opposed? Director Young?
Pulling the text out of the supporting document and actually inserting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fine.
That the beneficial use would have to be consistent with CRD or policy.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to go with that. Okay, so the motion passes, and Young opposed. That was,
No, he's for.
oh, he's for it now. Okay, and so then on the main motion, this.
I would like to comment on the main motion in the sense that should this be inclined to be an intention of what is to go ahead at the Committee of the Whole, I would really and respectfully want members to understand that here we are engaging in a $750 million investment to clarify materials going into the ocean. We would gather them up, and then whatever residues are left, the threat to put them back on the land is totally inappropriate. And I just give that as a notice.
Thank you, but I think that's not appropriate for the Committee of the Whole.
I think it's appropriate here because it's about how the participants in this CRD service choose to direct the end product of their service. And technically, if this committee was outvoted, if the participants were outvoted by the board, we could still be more prescriptive in how we want to manage our own service. So I wouldn't rule out further amendments being contemplated at our November meeting of this committee if the board as a whole goes in a direction that exceeds the comfort level of this committee. And if we don't want our municipal sewage being disposed of in the far reaches of the capital region, I think this committee can be prescriptive in that manner. It wouldn't ban it in the region, but it would just say you're not going to have CALWMC sludge to pollute the land base.
Never heard that acronym before. Director Desjardins, and then hopefully we can call the question.
Thank you. And again, this is going to the Technical Advisory Committee, but I think they need to be aware of, one, the concerns that are being expressed here, and two, that there is this significant discussion that the board will be having on the 30th, which should also provide more input to them in terms of these discussions. And they need to be aware. I mean, I think my worry is the way we've worded it, we've really couched it such that there isn't that understanding of what we're being considered, what we're going to be considering, which is land application. And I think that committee needs to be very aware of that as well.
As chair of that committee, I approved the agenda this morning with the exception of item 4. They will not be discussing item 4 on this Appendix A at that meeting. Item 4 will be discussed at the Technical Advisory Committee after the board.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. So all those in favor of the amendment? Did that. Okay. Main motion. All those in main motion as amended. Carried. Thank you.